What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We're back on the gold 06 Tacoma. I did the wheel bearing on it last. I think I did the axle on it as well, and it was the rear wheel bearing and axle, and then the front wheel bearing on the driver's side. Both of them are on the driver's side. But now what we're doing is we're actually doing a carrier bearing on it, and we're going to be doing a tail housing seal right here. Here's your carrier bearing, 2 bolts right here. And try to do it without dropping the drive shaft, but this right here's got a lot of play in it. I can move it up and down really good, and we do have another one on the lot, and we kind of compared it with that one, and the other one is a whole lot stiffer. But I've already taken all of the 14 millimeters. Ow, I hit my head on the tire and the shock. But we already took all the 14 millimeter nuts and bolts off of the flange. Just got this last one. I can get the washer off. It's hard to do with these gloves because it is freezing this morning. There we go. It does have a washer on it. Right there. And let me see if I can set y'all up so y'all can see me drop this off of here. Don't know how well this light is working, but once you take the bolt out, it should fall out fairly easy. Here are your bolts right there. Make sure you keep the washer in the nut. Now we're going to take the 2 bolts on the carrier bearing itself off. We don't know what size they are. Give me 1 second and I'll let y'all know. I'm guessing a 14. They are a 14. You may need a ratchet and a wrench. Don't know yet because there is a nut there. I can't tell if it's welded or not. But let me go ahead and drop that down, and then once we get that down, I'll bring y'all back. We'll show you pulling the transmission, pulling the drive shaft out of the transmission. I'm going to put a pan underneath here just because you may lose some fluid, and we do have a little bit of a leak back there, so I'm changing the seal on it. Alright, so now I got the carrier bearing down, and I will show you something else that I did just before I pulled this out, but let me pull this out first so y'all can see. We have a drain pan underneath. Move it around. Alright, it should slide right out. And you can see where some fluid is coming out of it. That's why I said put a drain pan underneath here, and we're going to take like a rubber mallet or a hammer and tap this off around here so that we can get this cover off so we can get to the actual tail house seal. There, that worked. I just got a hammer and like an old extension and put behind there. Yeah, they're on there pretty good. And now you can see the seal is easier to get to because that housing sticks out probably about that far from where the seal is. Here is the new seal, national seal 710689. Got it from O'Reilly, not a sponsor. But that's just where me and the dealership get a lot of our parts from if they're not OEM. And you can see, does look like the same. Now you need to know if you have a 5 or 6 speed when you do this, because the oil seals are different. All 5 speeds are the same, all 6 speeds are the same. And now we got that. I'm going to probably get a screwdriver, kind of go in here and collapse that seal so we can pull it out. There we go. And there's your seal. Stick it down in there. I'm going to clean this out and always check, make sure we don't have any bushing, rubbing and stuff up in here as well, but just make sure we clean out in here. Make sure I didn't scar the cylinder in there. That looks pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna get a socket about that size and put it over here, and we're gonna hammer it in, or something that'll fit in there. You could have a piece of pipe, you could have a socket, something like that, but just don't tear the seal in here. And before I put the drive shaft in, we will put some grease around the snout, just so whenever it goes inside, we will make sure that it doesn't start up dry. I'm going to clean up this little housing real quick, and then once I get through, I'm going to tap it back on, and I'm just going to start it on here. I just push it by hand, and then I'm just going to put a block of wood up against it and just tap on it until it seats down. But I do want to clean this just to make sure that it isn't leaking in the future. Alright, see, we got it cleaned up and it looks a lot better. That way, if there's ever is a oil leak, you will know. I may be able to just do it with my hammer, just tap it on. I don't know how well y'all can see this, but there's a paint mark right there. I put that there all the way up, and on the top, it's probably kind of hard to see. I did the same thing on this one, mark right there, all the way down the bottom. So we know that this right here, that's where it went on the differential. Always make sure that you put it back where you got it. You can throw it a little bit out of balance and wear out your universals a little bit quicker. But I mean, if you happen to forget to do it, it ain't gonna be the end of the world. But it does help it with balance and all that. Same way with whenever we take all this off, because we'll have to take this universal right here out of this yoke. Because there's a big nut right there. Looks like probably about a 21 or 22 on this one. But we will have to take that off, and then once we take that off, we take off the yoke right here, and then we have to take this carrier bearing. God, I'm having a brain fart today. Take the carrier bearing and knock it off. A lot of times these do have arrows which way they go. There's one, I don't know how well y'all can see it, but it's facing that way. That shows that it goes towards the transmission, or in front of the car. And you can see how much play is in it now. Shouldn't be that much play in there, but we're going to probably end up cutting this off. It does make it easier in my opinion, just cutting this off, and then we can cut the little race piece on the inside out, and it should knock out pretty easy. And then whenever you gotta put the next one on, if you don't have a press or any of that stuff, what you can do is actually use a socket or a chisel, or not chisel, a punch or something like that, and knock them on. But we're going to take these universals out first. Just use a pair of needle nose, grab a hold to that little clip, squeeze them, and pull them out, and do both sides. Then you will have to use a socket or something, hammer it down one way. I'll show y'all all this, but I'm just kind of explaining it first. Hammer it down one way, and then pull the cap out of the other side, then you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Here are your little clips. Like I said, I just got a pair of needle nose, stuck it in there, and you just squeeze them together. And then when you put them in there and you squeeze them, if you twist a little bit, they will pop out pretty easy. Now, I'm going to put another paint mark right here. That way we know which way the rear drive shaft mates to the front drive shaft. Now, what I'm going to do is get a socket about that size and hammer it down into it. .17 deep socket fits in there pretty well. So a 17 deep socket fits in here pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to get another socket and put underneath here so that that can go down inside of it. So now it's just hitting the concrete. Right. There's your universal, and you can pull it out. I hope I caught that on camera. Now it did bust like little plastic pieces around it. They don't feel bad at all. There's no clay in it, so we should be good on keeping that in there, but I will ask him if he wants to do it because it is cheap insurance and I'm already here. And then that way, if he wants to, I think they're probably aiming like $20 for a set of universals for this, and labor isn't going to change on it either. And now, there's that nut right there. You're going to have to use an impact and then pull it off. I got to find out what size it is. Here's your nut. Was a 24. I think there is a washer in here. Yep, right there, the thicker one. And you may have to, more likely you're going to have to press this off as well. You may have to get a puller, like a 2-jaw or something, put it in here and pull this off. Let me see if I can tap it off. Alright, so I did get it without a puller. I just used this little punch right here and I just tapped it. It is coming, just slow process. So I'll mark that too, just so I know where that goes. Let me kind of show y'all this. So it goes around there, and you can kind of see how it's kind of pressed on there a little bit. Let me show you what the new one is. Here is the new one. Get it out of the box. That's your new one. I don't think it has an arrow in this one though. It is a Precision part number 6073. I'm just double checking to see if there's an arrow. Doesn't look like it. But we'll kind of check her out, make sure nothing looks funky on it. Seems to be all good. Probably gonna put it this way because it looks like the thicker portions on the front on this one and that one, the thinner is on the back. So we will put it that way just to kind of make sure that it's somewhat compatible with this one. So now we just got to take this one off. I'm going to try to see if a chisel will work on this. So I'm going to cut the rubber off of this right here and get that outer shell out so I can probably get like a chisel or something and knock it off. Alright, so got the rubber off and you can see it right there. And got the little housing, where is it? I just used a razor blade. Cut the rubber and I cut the outer shell of it because that's pretty thin. It's only a little over an eighth, maybe 3/32 thick, and it cuts real easy. Now I'm going to get a chisel, start hammering off right there, see if I can get it off that way. I may even heat it up just to see if it will fall off. We got it off, and I did beat up that little cover right there a little bit, but I'm going to get that off and probably try to straighten it up a little bit. But I did get the bearing off of there. I had to use some map gas and hammer it with this. This is a railroad spike. They're really hardened, so I like using that right there. He had it in here. I actually have one at home that I have sharpened up, and it actually works great. So if you ever get a chance to get a railroad tie, get one of those, not a tie, but a railroad spike. Use that right there. They make great chisels, but plus it gives you a broader head to hit. But we got it on there. I just hit it up with a map gas torch, propane torch right here, and once you heated it up like that, everything pretty much tapped off, and I say literally probably about 6 minutes I had it tapped off. So all in all, I have about, I'd say 15 minutes in this, and the bearing is off manually. If you had a press, then you could get it in there and get all this off a lot easier. It would be more proficient to do it that way, but I just wanted to show that you can do it. We don't have a press tall enough to put this in here anyway, but I just want to show you that you can get these off manually and get them back on manually. Let me clean this up, try to straighten this up a little bit, and once I get through with that, I'll bring y'all back and show you how we're going to knock this little thing on.
I look around. You see what I got around? Like MacGyver.
Yeah. So what you saw there was me hammering this on, and all I did was just found a piece of pipe that was the same diameter as the actual bearing, and this one right here was almost perfect for it. I don't know what size it is. I'll measure it in a few minutes and let y'all know about what size it is. But I just got a piece of pipe like that, stuck it on there, and just hammering it down until it kind of pushed up against the back. Now it will push it on further once you put this on, because this right here kind of keeps it pressed on as well. So you do have that. So if you didn't get it all the way down, when you go to, excuse me, I'm kind of burping here. I don't even know why I hadn't even had anything to eat. This right here, once you tighten it down and torque it down, that will actually push it on to the appropriate seating position. But I will say, whatever you do, do not forget the little washer behind it. That right there, make sure it's showing y'all. Because that goes up inside of here first. That little thin washer, and then that goes, and we got our marks right here. I'll tap that on, and then after we do that, we'll tighten her down and torque her down. I gotta look up torque specs, and we're gonna have to hold it. I'm gonna try to hold it somewhere around in here, or put a pry bar right there and torque it down. All right, we got it in, and this right here, the nut torques to 134 foot-pounds. I just put a bar in there, held it right there, or you can put it in a vise and try to hold it, and then just use my torque wrench. Here it is right there, and set to 134. No, y'all probably can't see that, but that's what I did, and it's tightened down now. If I can get it. But we did order a new universal. So part number 354. There's the universal. It does have a zerk fitting on it. But I'm going to go ahead and start putting this in. I gotta get a C-clamp real quick so I can show y'all how to do that. So getting it out of here, I did have to hammer it down both ways and pull the caps out individually, just because it is too tight for it to go. Now I'm going to put this zerk fitting towards the inside like this, so that way that it doesn't get in the way of the yoke. And it may not get in the way of it either way, but I just want to make sure that I do have access to it. So we're going to pull these caps off and kind of set y'all up again. Pull these caps off, just be careful. Make sure none of the needle bearings fall out. And then I am going to start it. That one started. That one started. Okay, we got it down enough to where we can put a new clip in there. If I can get it in there. Okay, flip her over. Should be able to get another clip in this one. Right. Now we're going. Alright. We got it all back together and all lined up straight. You can see, put everything back in the correct marks. Now all I gotta do is put her back up in there and tighten everything down. Get the drive shaft in, the drive shaft to the differential bolts, those are 65 foot-pounds. The carrier bearing bolts, those are 27 foot-pounds. And you can disconnect the shifter if you need to rotate both of them to get to some bolts or something, in case you can't get to it. And the way you can do that is there's a 12mm right there. Take it out and you can move the shifter, and then you can just move it forward 2 clicks, and you can rotate the transmission and the differential. But you shouldn't really need to if you got it disconnected. Sorry, tongue tied. But shouldn't really need to, because you can rotate the differential and the yoke will spin to where you need it. That's all I did to line up the yoke with the correct marks that I had marked up there. And now, last thing to do is I want to grease this new universal. You can see how easy it is to get to it right there. We're going to grease that, make sure that it is greased up the way it's supposed to be. But other than that, we're finished. If y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comment section. I'll get to them as soon as possible. I do have the shirts, hats, stickers, Patreon, Instagram, all that good stuff. If y'all know a trick to get these bearings off a little bit quicker, let us know in the comment section if we don't have a press or something. But that's the easiest way I found for me to do it, just because it does allow you to kind of get to the bearing easier. But I do appreciate if anybody does that. Just go ahead and say that now. But y'all remember, torque this tight, and y'all have a great day.